The Jade Cargill story blew wide open this week. WWE fed the news of her signing to ESPN and let them break the news, which tells you a lot about what they think about her. And the story on ESPN.com says Jade Cargill, a rising star in professional wrestling and former champion in All Elite Wrestling, has signed with WWE. Promotion officials told ESPN. Cargill, who was AEW's longest-reigning TBS champion and appeared on television as recently as 2 weeks ago, will start with the WWE on Tuesday at its Performance Center in Orlando. It remains unclear if Cargill will go straight to the main roster or if she will first perform for its developmental brand, NXT. Cargill has been performing professionally for only 2 years. Her in-ring debut came in AEW as part of a high-profile mixed tag team match in March of 2021. She teamed with NBA legend Shaquille O'Neal against Cody Rhodes and Red Velvet. Rhodes, one of her mentors at his Nightmare Factory in Georgia, signed with WWE last year after helping found AEW in 2019 and headlined WrestleMania 39. Cargill was the first AEW TBS champion and held the title for a span of 508 days. And then they had Jade making the rounds, and she did an interview with Mark Raimondi of ESPN. And in the interview, she said that she already knows which brand she's going to. But she would not tell us which. She said, everybody is going to have to tune in to every network to see where I'm going. I'm here to stir the pot and keep people guessing where I am going to be, so just tune in. And on why she signed with WWE, she said, the leadership. I mean, Paul, Bruce, talking about Paul Levesque, Bruce Pritchard, Dan Ventrell, and Nick Khan. You can't get any better than that, and I'm the first signing under the TKO umbrella. So there's so many different things. Where else can you go to get the best quality training? Nowhere else. The PC here is one of one. There's nothing else like it. The machine is behind you, the platform, just the overall history, the legacy. I'm creating a household name. I can go on and on. I mean, why not? The question more so is why not? I worked with Daniel Bryan, a phenomenal guy, but he came here. So I thought that this is a no-brainer. I thought I couldn't get any better as far as in the ring than to come here and join a mega company. Oh, did that get some people upset. But there's nothing in her statement that was wrong. I mean, look, what else would you expect her to say? All right, she's the big new marquee signing. She's the big shiny new toy. And she knows how to play the game. She knows all the right things to say. She's going to build herself up as much as possible and put WWE over as much as possible. It's not that she's trying to slight AEW, although there's a lot of fans who took it that way. But the fact is that they are the big company. It's just a fact. WWE is the biggest wrestling promotion in the world. Whether you think it's the best, whether you think it's the worst, whether you think AEW is number one, that's your opinion. But there's nothing she said in those statements that is false. Now, she talked to The Ringer as well. And when she was asked about her connection with Cody Rhodes, did that affect her decision? She confirmed that it did. She said, he was top 3 and not third. He is a phenomenal man. I have seen what the business did for him. I've seen him just be the stellar athlete that he is, and I didn't see any different from myself. And I don't think that the Cody influence can really be stressed enough here. That he was the first big defection from AEW. And what made it even worse, I guess you would say, for AEW is the fact that he was one of the VPs, the EVPs in the company. He was the first EVP to make the jump. So he wasn't just an AEW talent and one of their biggest names. He helped found the company. And then he left to go back to WWE. And he made a lot of friends in AEW. He still has a lot of friends in AEW. And I guarantee you, he's texting people. He's talking to them. We saw Ricky Starks got caught on the security cameras coming in with him for the Royal Rumble earlier this year. That was a whole big controversy. Much ado about nothing. So you know he's talking to Starks, you know he's talking to MJF, you know he's talking to Jade, he's talking to all these people. And I'm not saying that Cody is trying to stir shit and saying, hey, you gotta come here. He's trying to fucking, recruit half the roster. But he is a great sounding board for a lot of these people who can get in touch and call him and text him and say, hey, look, my contract is coming due, or, I'm thinking about making a move. What do you think? How is it over there? How are they treating you? What should I be aware of? What are the pros and cons? That's another reason why his signing was such a huge blow to Tony Khan. It's not just looking at it as, okay, they lost a big talent. They have a lot of talent already. Just purely from a talent perspective, yes, losing Cody Rhodes was a blow, but they got over that very quickly. Because they lost Cody Rhodes, but guess what? They still have Kenny Omega, and they still have all of these different people that they have under contract on that roster. They had Punk, they have Danielson, they have Moxley, they have Claudio, they have a lot of young talents, whether it be MJF, Ricky Starks, they got Adam Cole, they got all these people, veterans, Samoa Joe, Sting, Christian. Talent is not the issue. They have an overabundance of talent in AEW. It's the influence that Cody has. That, him coming over to WWE, it gives all these other people, when they're thinking about maybe making the jump, an insight that they wouldn't otherwise have. And all they need to do, honestly, is just look at the way Cody's been booked since Vince McMahon brought him in. He's been a top star since day one. They've actually treated him very well. Now, you can argue he should have won the title or not won the title at WrestleMania. That's beside the point. He's going to win the WWE Championship at some point. He's going to be in a marquee match, whether it's the main event or not, at WrestleMania next year. He was in the main event of WrestleMania this year. He beat Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar shook his hand and raised his arm and put him over at the end of their feud. Cody's a big deal in WWE. There are still some people trying to convince themselves that he's not, which just is laughable to me. All you got to do is put your fucking TV on and turn the volume up when he comes out on TV every week. So that really is where it was a huge blow for AEW. Because Jade was one of those people who said, "Hey, look, I'm thinking I might want to make a move. What do you think?" And I'm sure whatever he told her, whatever his advice was, probably had a very big influence on her decision to leave. Now, I've been saying that I think it would be smart for her to spend some time in NXT first. I know it's probably not going to happen, and it's going to be very appealing for them to just rocket her right to Raw or SmackDown. And they're probably paying her good money, and they don't want her just languishing in NXT for too long. But I still think, look, she's very inexperienced. She's made progress. She's better now than she was 2 years ago, but they said it in the article. She only debuted in 2021. And it's great that she had the one-on-one time behind the scenes with Bryan Danielson. I can't think of a better person to learn from. But she's never had that formal, proper training and able to get in the ring and in a system like they have down there. They have their own system. And I'm not the only one who feels that way. We had Mickie James on Busted Open Radio this week echoing exactly what I've been saying. She said, "I think it would benefit her greatly to spend some time in that system because she has learned on TV. She has learned on AEW TV. There are two different locker rooms. They're ran two different ways. The companies are run two entirely different ways. It's like going from here in the US to wrestling in Japan. A lot of people need to spend some time, work, the dojos, all that stuff before they just go over and become a star because it's different. Apples and oranges, two different things." But we already hear that main roster creative is being prepared for her. She knows what brand she's going to go to. I pitched the idea last week. Becky Lynch is walking around the NXT Women's Champion, still, after last night. And if you want to make a big splash with Jade Cargill, but still connect her in some way to NXT where she can still spend some time down there on that brand at the PC, one way to do it would be to introduce her as a surprise challenger for Becky in the NXT Women's Championship. Becky's going to be going through people. She wrestled Natty. Now she's going to wrestle Tegan Nox on Raw tomorrow night if she gets cleared because she hurt her arm last night, has a gash on it. But she may blow through a few other challengers that she might want to work with. And then one week, Jade Cargill shows up. And Jade could beat Becky Lynch. Becky wants to help create this new star, this new big star in the women's division. She could very well put Jade over. Jade wins the NXT Women's Championship. Doesn't mean she can't still show up on Raw or SmackDown, but it would force them to use her in NXT as well, and she can spend some time down there and still end up, being in the Women's Royal Rumble in January, or maybe even having a match at WrestleMania. But I think it would be a mistake not to let her spend some time down there. She's still a Green Hornet. She's still new to all this. She's not great in the ring. She could one day be great in the ring, but she's not yet. So it may end up being baptism by fire, where they just think, okay, we'll let her work with the Becky Lynches and the Charlottes and the Baileys on the main roster, and she'll learn that way and on the live events. But I still think that she would benefit from spending some time as a big fish in a small pond. Because even just being a big fish in a small pond for a while in NXT just makes her feel like such a bigger star. That's not such a bad thing either. Let her work all the shows. Now, one idea also is that they could potentially be doing here, and I think this could be a fucking disaster, but they're building Nia Jax up on Raw as this monster. She's literally squashing everybody on the roster, going through everybody. I'm sure Rhea Ripley is going to be back this week. Maybe they'll go right to a Rhea Ripley-Nia Jax match, and Rhea will just beat her, and that'll be the end of it. But if they're beating all these people, if Nia is beating up all these people and she's booked like this unstoppable force, you could have Jade debut randomly on Raw one night and she could, pick her up and she could slam her. I mean, that's one thing they could do. But if the idea would be to work a match and have Jade Cargill against Nia Jax, that would just be a fucking disaster. I'm sorry. So I know that's another idea that's been talked about, but my God, I'm just trying to envision what that would look like. I'm not even worried so much about like Jade on her own. It's just that Jade in the ring with somebody like Nia, not exactly a ring general. I think that would be a big mistake.